back in just a moment with more of the Your Town television program here on AMP's Cable Channel 24 and on the internet at ampmedia.org.
Okay, welcome back. My next guest is John O'Brien. Mr. O'Brien is the president of Central Coast Senior Service Incorporated and serves on the Tivadad Medical Center Board of Trustees. John, tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to Monterey County.
Well, Lou, thanks for the opportunity to be here again. My family moved here in 1962. My father was a Unitarian minister at the time and founded the Unitarian Church in Monterey. Subsequently, he went on and got a doctorate. He was the second PhD out of UCSC and taught at MPC in the philosophy department.
Oh my God.
I grew up on the Monterey Peninsula. I went to Monte Vista Elementary, where I met my wife, now of 33 years, in 3rd grade.
My God, that's a relationship that started at a young age.
We don't have many secrets, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. It seems as though support for Tivadad is growing in the community. Do you have any comments about the work that Linda Ford and the Tivadad Medical Foundation are doing for Tivadad Medical Center?
Well, as Linda very well articulated, the foundation has done an excellent job representing the mission and the work of the hospital, its staff, and made a very good case to the community as far as their need to support it with their philanthropy. And while it's great to have the dollars, it actually is a great stamp of approval from the community for our ability to fulfill our mission.
That's a statement that has a lot of merit. And you know, I give the trustees credit for the work they've done, and definitely for the foundation for the work they've done. Mm-hmm. You've been a team that has created a great image for the hospital, and we're all proud of you. You know, you heard Harry Wise talk about the operations of the hospital and his future plans for the hospital. As a trustee, what's your feelings on the growth of the hospital?
Well, as you know, the executive team basically has to keep an eye on 2 balls. Most hospitals, they have to deal with the regulatory world of healthcare, which includes federal regulation, state regulation, as well as local. But in addition to that, the executive team has to keep their eye on the county ball, where we are a county department. So they have to respectfully and carefully follow county policies and procedures as well. So while we have a great executive team that's able to work in a hospital environment on a competitive basis, they also are learning and work very well with the counterparts in the county and meet those other obligations.
About the leadership at the Board of Trustees, do you feel that their movement has been in the right direction?
Well, the Board of Trustees has been pursuing a course of independence for many, many years now, and that's where the hospital authority legislation has sprung from. And but we have to keep in mind that the Board of Trustees is an interesting animal as far as governance. Being chair of the Finance Committee with the Board of Supervisors, you know our process for the Board of Trustees is we really cannot buy a pencil or a paper clip without the approval of the Board of Supervisors. Our budget process goes through our Finance Committee. It comes to the Board of Trustees for review and approval, and then it goes over to the county processes, where the county purchase process looks at it, vets it. The Board of Supervisor looks at the board report and approves it or not. And then it goes to Auditor Controller, which also looks at it and makes sure that it's all in order, which is an entirely different process than that typically occurs in a hospital setting.
There's no doubt about that. And then, you know, from a county standpoint, the one that always holds up projects is a department in our legal department that's called risk management. And if they look over contracts, sometimes they can take forever.
But that's an important function, and certainly hospital risk management is incredibly different than typical county governance processes. And so we've really enjoyed working with Charles McKee and his team as far as helping us get, sometimes as needed, outside expertise to help us answer those risk management questions.
You were a guest on this show back in November of 2011, almost 1 year ago. Compare Tividad today from a year ago.
Well, we're continuing to make improvement. We continue to be in the black, which is remarkable. It's the only safety net hospital in California to do so. And when I was here last, we were talking about the efforts to move towards a public authority. And since then, we've made some significant progress and overcome several hurdles.
Last year, we talked about the possible merger with Salinas Valley Memorial Hospital. Tell us where we are with that process and describe what occurred over the past year. I think the audience would find that quite interesting.
Well, the sequence of events, as far as I understand it, is that Salinas Valley Memorial Hospital decided that they wanted to seek out the opportunity to either merge, be acquired, or affiliate with another party. So they hired a consulting group called Kane Brothers, who did a very good job, as far as I can tell, to seek out bidders across the country to see if there was any interest to do so. Over the process period, there were 3 entities that came forward: Hospital Corporation of America, HCA, Vanguard Health Systems, both out of Nashville, and Natividad Medical Center. And they were all invited to submit letters of intent for them to consider whether or not they wanted to either accept or reject any of those offers.
Was there anything we could have done different as a county and as the Board of Trustees at Tividad that would have changed the final outcome with Memorial Hospital?
Well, I certainly personally feel that if we were, at the time of our letter of intent, a freestanding public authority, our attractiveness for at least an affiliation would be much greater. Trying to be competitive as a department of the county is a pretty tough act.
And I can understand that. It's quite difficult. And the county involvement made it probably a little bit more cumbersome. And we hope in the future we can work past that, but it will take some time. The legislation that is passed, AB 276, has some changes in governance, was signed by Governor Brown. What do you think this means for the future of the hospital?
Well, I think it could have profound impact on the future of healthcare in Monterey County. In fact, a county of less than 500,000 people having 4 freestanding hospitals is pretty unique. And in addition to that, we have 2 hospitals, Salinas Valley and Natividad, that are 5 miles apart from each other. So the legislation then gives the enabling ability of the Board of Supervisors by ordinance to create a new authority. And I think that events that are greater than us are going to make it quite plain that there needs to be some affiliation in the Salinas Valley.
What does it mean to Natividad to create the Central Coast Hospital Authority? What does flexibility does that give the hospital?
Well, as we prior discussed, it does make it possible for the hospital to operate in a level playing field as any other freestanding hospital would be. Make it more attractive to other entities in which to affiliate or partner with. And I truly believe that it would allow for the sustainability of quality health care here in the Salinas Valley.
Are the Board of Trustees looking to affiliate with any other hospitals in the near future?
Well, the legislation requires, in order for the Board of Supervisors to create such an ordinance, that Natividad find an affiliation in order to move forward. And certainly that is the path that we're going to pursue, given that that's the restrictions of the legislation. Currently, we don't have anything that we are actively pursuing, but we are certainly continuing to look.
A difficult question, and I think we all have concerns about, can Natividad meet the challenges ahead without an affiliated partners when we consider Obamacare and all the changes that are going to take place in the medical field?
Well, Harry did a good job outlining the pluses and minuses that safety net hospitals such as ours will have under Obamacare. And we believe, and most people who look at it are smarter than I, that on a net basis it will help organizations like Natividad. But at the end of the day, a standalone hospital on a competitive basis is much better than a hospital that's in a department of the county. Keep in mind that healthcare is a very unusual animal in that typically in the marketplace, competition is considered good. In that competition typically will drive down prices. In healthcare, typically though, competition increases prices. For example, let's say Hospital A buys some fancy new machine that does fancy new imaging, and they start getting new outpatient business. Hospital B in kind buys a fancy machine that does the same fancy images, and they start pulling patients back. However, in a county like ours, there's a finite number of patients. We're a small county. So neither machine is being efficiently used, and so the price per image goes up in order to pay for the machines. So there is an example where competition just inflates costs. So having 4 hospitals, particularly 2 that are just across the street from each other, competition tends to make things more expensive.
And that could end up being a problem in the long run.
It will be a problem, and it already is. Healthcare is a very uncertain time right now.
But when you look at, I think Memorial has bed space for something like 140, and we're staying right at 115, 116 now at our high peak. If one of those hospitals were to basically disappear, would we have enough beds to handle the population that we now serve?
That's a good question, and most of the people who are looking at the crystal ball are saying that over the next 5 years, the emphasis for outpatient and ambulatory care is going to become the big driver versus inpatient acute care. So while today we tend to use the metric of average daily census, or as the industry says, heads in the bed, that metric is going through dramatic change, because census doesn't tell us what is the patient mix, who are the payer mix, and those are becoming more and more important rather than simply looking at how many beds are being occupied any given day.
So there's still some major hurdles that Natividad will come across in the next 4 or 5 years, particularly with Obamacare.
Well, yes, and I would like to really emphasize, though, that the solution that we are seeking with Natividad Medical Center is not a Natividad Medical Center solution, but a regional one, where we have a population that needs to be and has the right to be treated with quality care, and we have competition with this old medical model that we need to improve so that we can continue to meet our mission and remain sustainable.
From the trustees' perspective, and you know, I sit on the Board of Supervisors, and of course we're looking at the total county family, and Natividad is part of that family. And from a trustee's standpoint, you're strictly involved in the function of the hospital on a day-to-day basis and planning for long-term.
Absolutely. The Board of Trustees' job is to fulfill the mission. On the first day that I was seated on the Board of Trustees, you came in there and told me that.
Yeah. You know, a little bit while we finish this hour of talking about Natividad up, give us a little background on some of the members that are on the Board of Trustees of the hospital.
Well, we have members that have medical background, who've worked as a physician in hospitals and done quality assurance. We have people who have a PhD in pharmacy and attorney JD degrees. So we have a very good skill set of Board of Trustees. who not only understand hospital operations, but understands quality assurance, patient satisfaction, understands budgeting, as well as outcome measurements. And we have a pretty good idea, and Harry's done a very good job keeping us up to speed as to the transitions and changes that are coming down the road with Obamacare and the change in payer mix.
How many board members are on the Board of Trustees?
We have 5 Board of Trustees that are at large that are appointed by the Board of Supervisors, and then we have 3 that are by virtue of position.
So I believe we have 2 county Board of Supervisors and 1 board member, and Lou Bauman serve on that?
Lou Bauman, yes, Dr. Bauman is on the Board of Trustees.
And that's to bring a relationship between the Board of Supervisors and the Board of Trustees.
Absolutely, it helps immensely.
I, you know, as a supervisor and have watched the Board of Trustees, I commend you for doing a tremendous job.
Thank you very much.
And when you look at the goals you've set for yourself and what you've done with the guidance from Harry and the people that we have and the leadership on the trustees, we've turned a hospital completely around from being a dinosaur for the county to being, let's call it a giraffe, with a lot of height and a lot of vision, and we feel very comfortable that that's taken place.
Thank you.
Thank you, and that's all the time we have for today, John. This has been Your Town television program. Thank you to my guests, Linda Ford, Harry Wise, and John O'Brien. Thank you also to Jim and Mary Lou Vossen for making my appearance possible. I'm Lou Calcagno, and I'm your host on the 4th Tuesday of every month. Join me again in another month for an exciting program about Monterey County. Until then, let's keep Monterey County prosperous and beautiful. And thank you all for being here today.
The television program is on every weekday afternoon at 5 o'clock. For more information about the Your Town television program, go to our website, montereyradio.com. The Your Town television program is produced by Jim and Mary Lou Vossen under montereyradio.com. Thank you very much for joining us today.